What's up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages? Alright, so this is part 2 of putting my brown Dodge back together after the tire tried to fall off. Sorry, I really need to comb my beard. So, I'm not a mechanic. I don't claim to be a mechanic, but I work on my trucks. So, whoops, sorry. So I work on my trucks. I've got 4 of these style Dodges. This is a 97 12 valve 4-wheel drive Cummins diesel with a straight axle front end. So what happened is, if you need to know what happened, go watch part 1. Essentially, the tire tried to fall off because the inside of the brake rotor came apart. So now I'm making part 2 on putting that back together after everything. Just go watch part 1, whatever, or don't care. Oh, by the way, my garage is a mess, so no judgment free zone. Okay, so here we go. So I got the new hub assembly right there. Okay, and I know this brake rotor looks really old and rusty, but it's not. It's just got some surface rust. Okay, so, and I'm gonna try to, so that goes like that. This goes just like that, okay? Then you take it and, I wish I had a stand for this camera. But essentially, there we go. All right, so now we got all the holes lined up. You see how that is? See how that hole is lined up? That hole. You can't really see those, but, you know. Yeah. But they're all lined up. See, there's my finger on the other side. All right, and then, oops. I got this piece of I-beam right here. That's what I use. So I'm sure there's a better way to do this. But, so here's your wheel stud. Notice this big space right here. Okay, so your wheel stud drops in right there. Now this is the back. Okay, this is the back. Your wheel stud drops in right here. And then it comes out the front. And that's what bolts your wheel on. Right there. But you have to take this and you have to hammer it in. And so I've got to put I'm gonna put some PB Blaster or something. I'm gonna put some kind of lubricant on it. But you take it and you take a punch. So you get it all lined up, drop this in, take a punch and hammer this backside down in there. And then when you go to put it back on the truck, if you watch part 1, you notice these bolts got destroyed. So these bolts come from the backside and they screw in right here. And that's what holds your wheel hub on. So anyway, so I got 4 of these 8 wheel studs. So what I have to do is I have to hammer all of these in, then take this whole assembly over to the truck and install it on the truck with these 4. Okay, so let me do that, and then when I go to install, like I said, let me go ahead and get these knocked in. When I go to install, I'll show you a quick thing on that, okay? Thank you. Okay, so we're back. All right, so just gonna show y'all. Yeah, so got that put together. It's on the truck. I haven't put the axle nut on. But I did get these 4 bolts. I haven't tightened them up, but that's where those 4 bolts go. Obviously, there's the the U-joint for the front axle. And then so I was going to tell you, these studs, I know that you can't really see them, but they're back there. I think that's one right there. Yeah, probably. Okay, so after I hammer them in a little bit with a punch, then I like to take my impact and put these heavy duty lug nuts on them, and you know, kind of sink them down. Granted, okay, you have to remember, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not telling you this is the right way to do it. I'm just telling you that this is the way I do it. I've never read a book on how to do it. I've just taken it apart and put it back together a whole bunch of times. So, yeah. So, that's, hey, if somebody's got a better suggestion, I don't know. But I don't have a press. So, I mean, the book may call for these to be pressed in. I don't have a press. So that's, you know, I put a whole lot of lube on it, and I take my impact and I sink them down. So now, like I said, so then, sorry. So I've got these sunk down. I've got this on here. All I've got to do now is I've got to tighten up these 4 bolts. Once I get those tight, then I'm going to take all of these lug nuts off and put the brake caliper back on there. There's 2 bolts that hold it on. Yeah, these 2. Yeah. 2 bolts that hold it on. Standard brake caliper deal. And then put the axle nut on. One thing about the axle nut, I'll show you. I guess I can go ahead and do that. Okay, so there's an axle nut, but you notice how it's got all these grooves in it? Okay, all those grooves are for your keeper pin. Okay, you see that right there? See, let's see right there. Yeah, there's the hole for the keeper pin, cotter pin, whatever. So when you're torquing this thing down, you have to get it right there where your cotter pin can go in and go through. If it's right here, well then obviously your hole is covered up, so you either have to go more or you have to back it off a little bit. So just keep that in mind when you're torquing this thing down. You want to check on it. And I mean, because once you hammer it home, if it's not right here, say it's like right there, well, you know, you're either gonna have to hammer it home some more, or you're gonna have to back it off to, you know, right there. And that cotter pin is the only thing that is holding this hub, wheel, tire, brake, everything on, is that cotter pin and this nut. So, you know, those things are kind of important. So, just FYI. Alright. So, yeah. So, I'm on get those 4 bolts in the back tightened down. Get the brake caliper on. Get all these lug nuts off. I'm going to get the axle nut cinch down and figure out where it needs to go, and then I'll probably come back after that. Okay. Okay, so when I went to put the caliper back on, it wouldn't fit. So I got this tool from O'Reilly's, a while back, and I've got this tool. It just takes it and it spreads it. Okay, I've got a different tool that's older that comes on this side and clamps over here on this bolt, and then it takes it and you squeeze it. But this one is so much better, and I want to buy the upgraded version of this. All this does is ratchet, and you pull it and it ratchets these two out, and it's so much better and it works so much easier. So I've got it far enough out now. Sorry. So I'm gonna take this back off, put the pad back in. So what I've got is I've got this pad over here and no pad in here. And if you're doing a new brake job, then you can just use your old pads and leave your old pad over here, and you know, or however you want to do it. So I just wanted to show how this tool was working. So like I said, I want to get a better version of this. This is just a cheap, like off the shelf cheap version of this thing. It works good, but it slips sometimes. So I would like to buy a higher quality version of this one. So anyway, all right, we'll be right back. Alrighty, so now we come to the end. Okay, so there's the axle nut on, keeper pin in. I pulled these heavy duty lock nuts off. Hopefully y'all can hear me over that air compressor. And I'm gonna be putting on these lug nuts. I'm sorry if I said lock nuts, don't worry about it. These lug nuts right here. To be honest with you, I would rather have these. The reason why is these are a 22 millimeter, these are 15/16. All of my other trucks, they have these. They have 15/16. This truck has all the way around. It has these. So I just went ahead and I bought another set of these instead of buying 4 sets of these. So but yeah, so brake calipers back on, all the studs are in, axle nut is on, and as you can see, there's the keeper pin, goes all the way through. It keeps this nut from backing off, or it's supposed to. So, and after this, all I'm gonna do is jack it back up, take the jack stands out. Believe it or not, when it comes to safety, I may not wear my hard hat all the time, and I may not wear chaps all the time, but when I'm working on a vehicle, I always use jack stands. Always. I always, you know, go by the book. I jack the vehicle up, put jack stands underneath it, and lower it back down on the jack stands. So yeah. Okay, so I'm not gonna bore you with the walking around the truck looking at the tires on. I mean, walk outside if you want to look at that. You can look at your car with the tires on just fine. So but once I get done with that, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna go through a tool list of every single tool that took me to do this. So just, you know, and I'm gonna go ahead and grease. I'm gonna go ahead and grease this front end while I got the wheel off. Grease some of these bushings and, you know, stuff like that. But I am in a hurry, so it'll be dark by the time I get to the tool list, because I've got several other things I have to do once I get the truck book back together. Before dark. So I'm gonna go do all that, and I will see. Yeah, I'll see y'all later. But for y'all, it's gonna be like, whew. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the tool section. I'm gonna tell you what tools I used, and so it may not be the same for you, but anyway. Oh yeah, don't. My garage is a mess. Okay, I just want to let you know I'm not a messy person, but my garage is a mess. It's been a very busy year, and just I got a whole lot of projects. My garage is a mess. So no judgment. Okay, judgment-free zone. Okay, but got a snow day today and tomorrow. Definitely going to be taking some time to finish up some of those projects and clear some stuff out. Yes, and I love my chainsaws. That's my 4 vintage ones right there. And my oldest one is right over there. It's a 59 Homelight. And then these, that one's a Mac 1010. It's from 79. And then I got a couple of that one's from like the 90s. A couple from the 80s. So, anyway. I got tired of them sitting on the floor, so I started hanging them from the ceiling. And I hadn't made one of those cool posts yet to sit them on. So, yeah. There you go. All right. Back to the tool list. Once again, I'm not a mechanic. I don't claim to be a mechanic. I'm just saying this is how I did it. So, you know, there you go. Okay, starting off, impact gun. It's just a 3/8 air impact. So, yeah. The lug nuts that generally come stock or whatever, I don't know. The lug nuts that are on all the rest of my trucks are these, all the rest of my Dodges are these 15/16, okay? And the lug nuts that I use to cinch down the studs, 15/16, heavy duty stud, you know. But the ones that are actually on all the rest of the corners of the truck are these like nice looking ones or whatever. So they actually cover up the studs. So, but this is a 22. So this is a 22 millimeter. Okay. And this was a 15/16. All right. So I had Impact Harbor Freight Special right here, 15/16. And then I had the 22 with an extension. Okay. So the impact was just for taking the tires off, you know, taking the lug nuts off, and also the axle nut. So this is a 3/4 inch drive, so I had to use a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch adapter, and I got this at Napa somewhere. It's a Carlisle, and it's 1 1/16 inch. So that's the size axle nut socket that I had to use. It might be different on yours. Oh, I love my PB Blaster. Love it. I buy this by the case at O'Reilly's, and I love it. It helps really well on the lug nuts, and so great. Just standard needle nose pliers for your cotter pin. This holds the axle nut on. So, all right. Now, next, pulling the brake caliper off. This is a 3/8 Allen wrench on a socket or whatever, you know. So Allen wrench made into a socket. So and it's a 3/8 drive. So that's what I used to pull the 2 bolts that hold the brake caliper on. Okay, so I got a standard 3/8. This is actually one of my old ones. This is a Matco I bought years ago. I really love it. It's my go-to. But yeah, so, and then also this right here is the best extension that I've found. This is I'm gonna say like 1.5 inches, maybe a 1 inch extension for this job, because the stock bolts that came out, they require a, let me see if you can, they require a 12-point socket. Okay, so then this is a 14 millimeter. So 3/8 drive, 14 millimeter, 12 point. That's what the stock ones that came out, which I obviously I wasn't putting these back in because I had already ground the heads off, you know, or I guess that'd be the tail if this is the head. But yeah. Now the replacements that they gave me, as you saw in the video, those were 6 point. So I could use either the 12 point socket or a 6 point socket to put them back on. And I found that this extension is the perfect size. I think it's like a 1-inch extension. This is the perfect size to get back in behind the wheel and get these 4 bolts out. So, all right. I'm going to move some of this and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I got a punch for replacing the studs. I showed you in the video you got to take a punch and knock them in from the backside and get them started, and then I sink them down with lug nuts. And so yeah, that's just a standard Harbor Freight punch. Flathead screwdriver, just because whenever you're doing brakes, a lot of times you need a flathead screwdriver to get the brake rotor, or whatever. All right, I got this. I would actually really like a better version of this because this slips sometimes. But this goes in between the brake caliper, the brake pads like that, and then you ratchet it, and it expands and pushes them out. I might have already talked about these things, but this was just like a straight off the shelf O'Reilly's deal, and I want to see if they got a better one of these. This one works, but I'm not a huge fan of it. But if you're doing a brake job, you absolutely need a tool like this or a C-clamp. I found out a C-clamp works fantastic. I got some over there. Okay. Like I said, my garage is a mess. Now, these were the old bolts, so we don't need to look at those. When dealing with these axle nuts, an absolute must-have is a good breaker bar. This is also an O'Reilly special lifetime warranty, but I put a cheater pipe on it. So yeah. And then I've got the ratcheting bar, but if you use this and you put a cheater pipe on it, you will break these plastic gears in here. Now it's got a lifetime warranty, so anytime I break it, I just take it back and they warranty it. But after a while, they kind of get mad at you for doing that. So, let's see. This should be a 14. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a 14. Both of these are 1/2-inch drive, and a 14 millimeter because, all right. So I've got my Milwaukee electric right angle ratchet. I love it. Absolutely love it. But I don't trust the torque specs or anything on it. So anytime I get the bolt in with this, I go back. I always go back and I hit it by hand. And just make sure that it's correct. So, yeah. And then it's just some shop towels. Definitely going to need some shop towels. Wasn't planning on saying that, but that's up here, and yeah, you're gonna need some shop towels. So, as this is anytime you're working on a diesel, it's a dirty job. So, yeah, there you go. That's all the tools that I had to use. Not a lot, but there are some specialty tools in here. Like a lot of people, don't have these. I would assume not. This is kind of a short extension, but the reason why I love this one is because it on the 4-wheel drive application, you've got your front axle and then a U-joint back there, and if you get one that's too long, it won't fit in between all that. If you don't use one at all, you can't reach it, even with like a deep well socket. So, what I figured out is just a short socket on this wobbly. You see how that wobbles? on this wobbly extension works fantastic. See, that's not a straight extension. It's a wobble. And this is let's see. It's probably gonna be Harbor Freight. Pittsburgh, yeah. Okay, this is a Harbor Freight special right here. So so I figured out that this is like the perfect combination. It's a little bit longer than a deep well, but it's still short enough to get in there and, get the job done. So, anyway, so yeah. And then, I mean, I had to get this from Napa just because it was a specialty. I guess it was a specialty size. I've got some bigger sockets than this, but I didn't have this one. I had to have this one. So, yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I've done this job probably 15, 20 times. I don't know. I'm trying not to show you all of my nasty garage. But my garage is not nasty. It's cluttered. Okay, cluttered. And I've got my little baby tractor back there. But like I said, I got a lot of projects I got to catch up on. We did a whole bunch of tree work this year, and there was not a lot of time left for things at the house. And I have been trying to spend more time with my kids and not just work 24/7. So take that for what it's worth, Anyway, all right. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. I can't guarantee I'll be able to answer them, but yeah. Oh, and I'll go ahead and tell you, the axle nuts, I never put them back on at the torque specs that they say, because they're supposed to be something stupid like 450 foot-pounds, and I never put them back on at that. I put them back on at maybe 150, 140, 150, something like that. Never had one come off. But the first time you ever take, if you're working on an older Dodge that has this setup, the first time you ever take them off, oh my Atlanta, you are in for, that thing will whoop you. I mean, I've been out there with a piece of 1-inch cold rolled steel, and in the lug nuts holding the wheel down, because when it was even when it was sitting on the ground, it would still turn, with a breaker bar with a 12-ton bottleneck jack underneath the breaker bar, pushing the breaker bar up, and I'm over there, like with the thank goodness it was air over hydraulic. I love that jack. Oh yeah, I'm gonna show you that. Pushing the air hose like until finally, something's gonna snap. Either the nut's gonna come loose or something's gonna snap. And I'm telling you, I put heat on it, everything. Okay, but oh yeah. And I had 2 jack stands and a Harbor Freight special right here. So this is a 12-ton bottleneck jack with it's air over hydraulics. So you can plug this in, and then when you want it to go up, you just up. I love it. They're not that expensive. Don't even quote me, I don't know, but I love it. This is a 20-ton, I believe. Yeah, this is a 20-ton, but it's not air, so you have to sit here and you have to, pump. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna get the 20-ton of the air and the hydraulic, the air over hydraulic at some point in time, but I haven't done that yet. But this is my go-to jack for everything that is truck related. Everything. Plug the air hose up and then let it roll. Okay. All right. So, I guess that's gonna bring this one to a close. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope you know, I didn't ramble too much and y'all learned something. Thank you for watching. And, you know, hey, God bless you. Jesus loves you. Deuces, homies.